Today's episode is an interview with Dr. Adam Martin, the Fit Pharmacist. I invited him to be on the podcast because he uses his voice in a number of ways. He's a community pharmacist, a branding expert, an online course creator, an author, a professional speaker, a podcast host, a medical missionary, and more. In this episode, we focus on how he helps pharmacists script their dream careers through strategic branding and execution. You will be inspired by this episode no matter who you are. You don't have to be a pharmacist or a voice actor to get what he's saying. You're listening to the Pharmacist Voice Podcast, a journey-style podcast about my career change from pharmacist to voice actor. I'm your host, Kim Newlove. I alternate solo shows and interview shows. The solo shows are about my career change, and the interview shows feature a variety of people who use their voices to advocate, educate, or entertain. I specialize in medical narration and e-learning. If you have a project in mind, contact me through my website, thepharmacistvoice.com. Thank you for joining me for episode 75. Dr. Adam Martin is a gifted speaker, and it is my pleasure to have him on the podcast today. I got to know him over the past couple of months, and he is, in one word, amazing. I don't use that term lightly. He really is amazing. This is usually the part of the show where I tell you more about my guest before sharing our interview. This episode is a little different. Dr. Adam Martin does a fantastic job of sharing who he is during our conversation. So stay tuned, you'll hear from him in just a minute. To learn even more about Dr. Adam Martin, read his full bio, and find his social media and website links, please check out the show notes on thepharmacistvoice.com/podcast or read them on your favorite podcast app. You can also visit thefitpharmacist.com. Without further ado, here's my conversation with Dr. Adam Martin. Welcome to the Pharmacist Voice podcast, Adam. How are you?
I am so freaking blessed and excited to be with you today, Kim. Thank you so much. This is going to be a blast. So I hope y'all are ready to get this party started.
You have so much energy, and I really appreciate that. This is going to be a great interview.
Oh, this is gonna be like y'all need to sit down, pull over. This is gonna be a blast and a half. So I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, Adam, you know that my guests like to use their voice to advocate, educate, or entertain. I asked you to be on the show today because I'd like to have you tell my audience how you use your voice to help pharmacists script their dream careers through strategic branding and execution.
I love that question, Kim. Thank you so much again for all that you do for being a voice for pharmacists and the profession. And that just goes beyond pharmacists, but really pharmacy students, getting that mindset and thinking that the profession has so much potential to advocate not only for ourselves, but for others. And I think what you're doing is just such a tremendous service to so many people across, we were talking earlier, so many different countries. And it's just truly extraordinary and inspiring. So first off, I want to acknowledge you for that and just say thank you, because it's needed. As y'all know, I mean, that's why you're tuning into this, right? That's why you look forward to hearing Kim's voice and those that she brings in. So thank you so much for what you're doing. It's awesome.
My pleasure. Yes, great to have you. And for some of my listeners that may not have heard of you, can you give a brief intro? Are you a pharmacist? Are you a branding expert? Are you both?
Absolutely. So I became a branding expert by accident, but yes, ma'am. I am a pharmacist. I graduated from the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy in 2012, and I'm one of those crazy people that love community pharmacy because I've been working full-time in that space since 2012. My story didn't start that way, though. My story actually started in pain and finding a strong why and learning the value of perseverance and really getting clear on what you are doing this for and who you are being in service to. So real quickly, I got into pharmacy by, I guess, accident or life redirection because I love animals. And my genius young self thought that I'm going to be a veterinarian because all you do is play with puppies. And so that was my belief from like my whole child life. So when reality got closer as a sophomore in high school, I thought, I need to become this great vet and get experience. So I decided to start working at a veterinary hospital. And very quickly, I learned that my fascination and my dream of what this wasn't really that true. So it was quite the wake up call, because while care and help for animals is essential, unfortunately, a lot of times you have to put them to sleep because that is just how to get them out of pain, and that was a daily occurrence, putting animals to sleep. And while it was for the best to end that pain and suffering, I just couldn't handle that for a long time career choice. And while that's not all they do, that's a part of it, and it's not something that I could do long term. So I thought, okay, I'm so sad. I don't get to play with puppies my whole life and get paid for it. So what else am I going to do? So that was kind of where that seed got planted. And right around that time, my mother actually went in for a routine colonoscopy. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was a Wednesday. And I was in the Key Club back at that day. If y'all know Key Club back in high school days. And I was supposed to get picked up by my dad and sister. I think it was at 3 p.m. And they're always on time. And 3:45 came along. I was like, what's going on? And I opened the door, got in my dad's car. And the first thing he said is, your mom failed her test. And I was like, crap, what's that mean? And long story short, what ended up happening is they caught her with stage 4 metastatic colon cancer. And I didn't know this at the time, but at her point of diagnosis, she was given less than 6 months to live. And it had spread all throughout her body. Now, that directed me towards a different path, because being on so many medications and really doing all we could to fight this, we were in the pharmacy most days of the week. And at this point in my life, I had zero experience, let alone knowledge of what a pharmacist was. No neighbors, no family friends, no connections whatsoever. My definition of a pharmacist was just through observation. And it was this smart guy or girl in a white coat running around with their heads cut off like chickens, trying to help people. And that's all I knew. So being in the pharmacy most days of the week, I saw this complete stranger show actual care for my mother and my family, asking things like, how's your mom doing? You guys aren't that far away if you ever need us to drop off for your prescriptions, and so forth. And the timing was just spot on. And I really believe it was divinely orchestrated by Jesus. I'm a strong Christian, so put that out there right now. Lover of life, and I'm just going to declare that. But what ended up happening is I started to see that this person, while they were a professional and there to dispense medication, they dispensed something a lot deeper. They dispensed hope to people that were total strangers that could give nothing back to them in return. And I just was really moved by that. And I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be that guy. So that's what planted the seed into, okay, maybe you should check into this pharmacy thing, and come to see that they're not just chickens with their heads cut off, but they're actually much more. So that's what sparked the journey into pharmacy. And through that time, that was an interesting process, because I got deeper and deeper into what the profession was, the role of a pharmacist, really being focused on relationships and trust, not only with their patients, but with their team leaders, with other healthcare professionals to drive that patient care. And through that process, I became more and more clear, and I applied to pharmacy school with all the confidence in the world. But there was a problem. I got rejected with all the right intentions, with all the clarity. I was told, you're not really cut out for this. This is very competitive. You might want to consider other options, by my undergraduate advisor. And based on my commitment with grades and so forth, I can't really blame them. I mean, pharmacy's competitive. Y'all know, like, sometimes all A's aren't enough. I sure as heck wasn't all A's, but I was in that time of, I had to question myself. I applied and didn't get in, and I got to really face the music here and say, am I going to take this and move on? Or am I going to really dig deep and say, what can I do? How is this happening for me and not to me? And that really shifted what I came to learn as extreme ownership, in not saying, this person did this, and, why didn't this work out? And I wasn't in this, I didn't have these connections. I didn't have these resources, which was true. But how does that serve my mission? How does that allow me to come to a place where I can really connect with my life purpose. So I decided to swallow a pill of humility and really dive into what can I do about this. So I retook some courses, I dug deep, I got super involved, and I reapplied the next year. And I didn't exactly get in. I got what's called waitlisted, which, they won't tell you this, but what waitlisting basically is, hey, so we gave our offers of admission to those that we really want, but if they change their minds, we'll let you in. That's what waitlisting is. So I was literally the last person to get accepted in my class. And
Unbelievable.
I was so thrilled, though. I was so grateful. And the reason that this is so important for y'all to know is when you overcome adversity, it gives you a sense of appreciation like nothing you can ever fake because it's real. You had to fight for it. You had to take ownership and come to a place where, you defy the odds. Like you might have made some mistakes and weren't set up and had your head in the right place, but dang it, you got clear. You took action and you did what was necessary to come to a place through integrity of how you can set yourself up to really live your life purpose. So because I got in through all of that, I got in with the mindset, I am not going to waste this opportunity. I am going to make the most of this blessing. So during orientation, before pharmacy school even started, I wasn't even aware of this, but literally one of the last things they said was, oh, by the way, you need to elect a class president to lead your class to connect your student body with your professors. And instantly, a light bulb moment went on. And I can remember like 3 of these in my life. This was clear as day, one of those moments. Because I was an Eagle Scout at age 14. My parents saw the value of leadership, so they made sure I was in conferences and retreats and all that. And I wasn't really aware back in those days. I was just like, okay, I'll do these things. I'll trust that it'll work out later, but I don't really understand. At that moment, I understood exactly. I was like, I am perfectly positioned for this. Like, I feel called to do this. Mm-hmm. So that was my mission statement that started. So I reached out to one of my mentors who was in pharmacy school 2 years ahead of me. And I had zero clue. Like, he was well connected. And that's where I really learned the value of mentorship early on. Find people farther ahead than you that have that giving mindset and are really looking to help you grow. So I reached out to him. I said, so I'm totally clueless. Like, I'm not qualified. I don't know anyone in my class, but I feel like I was really positioned to do this. So I have to give a speech and I don't really know how to use my voice to express this. So this dude was legit. His name is Jimmy Gill, still friends to this day. I got to go to his wedding last year. Just incredible human. And he said, okay, man, here's all you do. You get up there and you say what you got to say, but here's what you do. You say, oh, I'm going to be your representative and serve as the liaison between faculty and students. And what people are going to think is, oh, liaison, he speaks French. And then they're going to vote for you. Oh. And that's exactly what happened. So I reflect on that, just funny, but that's where the concept of the voice of the pharmacist began for me, is all those things: overcoming adversity, getting mentorship, going through and owning your shit, being you and not BSing yourself, but saying, what do I have to do to become the best version of myself? Do I have demons I need to face? Have I been half-assing what I've been doing? How can I take ownership and level up my life to live it just like it was intended to be? So that's really where this whole concept of having a voice came from. And to be quite honest, at that time, I wasn't really aware of that. So all through pharmacy school, I really dove into that position. And really, it was more of a responsibility than a title, if that makes any sense. So I really constantly asked, how can I show up better? How can I create solutions? Because I would ask, what have past presidents done? I've never done this before. What's expected? But how can I improve this so it really creates an experience rather than just an expectation? And that was one of the subliminal moments that really changed how I show up in all areas of my life. So throughout school, we did projects and everything else. And to fast forward the pharmacy story, the pharmacy school story, to really becoming the voice. All through school, I would, be the voice of presentations and things like that. And something I didn't really recognize at the time was the feedback I got was, wow, you're just a natural speaker. You're so dynamic. You just really connect with the audience. I can feel you. I hear what you're saying, but I can really feel you. And I was moved by what you said. And I didn't really recognize that at the time. So fast forward to 2012, graduated. I get a call from the dean when I was right before then. I was on rotation at the FDA, which was an awesome rotation. Highly recommend it, by the way, in DC. And I get a call from the dean. And I was like, oh, crap, what did I do? And she said, hi, Adam. This is, Dean Crowboth. And you might not know this, but there's a scholarship at the school that I personally give away to one male and one female for each graduating class. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. And she's like, it's for $10,000 a piece. And I was like, wow. And she's like, and I'm giving it to you because I feel like you have the position to be the most influential person that your class will produce. And I was floored. I was like, how do I go? Like literally my pharmacy life flashed before my eyes. Like, how do I go from being told by undergrad that you're not cut out for this, it's too competitive, to the dean of the school saying that here's $10K, go and innovate the profession. And it just blew my mind. And again, it wasn't like an award. I mean, it was an honor, but it was more of a responsibility. Like, how can I take this and really invest it and be that voice for pharmacy to think differently, to show up and create solutions in a way that might not have been thought of before. So that, again, sparked that. So coming back to what I started, like I barely got into pharmacy school, not going to waste this opportunity. How can I make the most of this? Now I'm about to start my life as a pharmacist, and the dean gives me this like out of left field ridiculousness that helped a ton with student loans because that was on me. I worked 3 jobs through pharmacy school. That's another story. But so that was a tremendous gift. And I thought, how can I use this concept of innovation? Because that was a core value at Pitt Pharmacy: leadership, innovation, and excellence. And how can I really use this with what I do? So as I graduated, so all through pharmacy school, one of the things that I really came to fall in love with was fitness. And how I realized that there was a crazy relationship between if you worked out well and you went to the gym and took care of yourself and ate well, your workouts would be exceptional. Your energy would go up, your strength would improve, just like your focus in the classroom would go up. Your energy would be increased. But if you fell into that party lifestyle of staying out late, having a little bit more than one beverage in an evening, if y'all know what I mean.
College kids don't do that. Come on.
No, this is hearsay. This is theory, right? This isn't experience. But so your workouts would suffer. You'd be brain foggy. You might feel like too tired to go to the gym and all that stuff. And then that would translate to the classroom. You wouldn't be focused. You might be more averse to not going to class and all those sort of things. So it became this like dichotomy relationship of fitness and pharmacy. And it really gave me the juice to show up as my best self. And I graduated and I just continued that. And I just thought that's how everyone was. Everyone loved their job. Everyone loved being a pharmacist and they loved life. But I had a wake-up call again. I started going to conferences and I was introduced to this wonderful world of social media, which was very new concept at the time. And I was like, oh, let's connect with pharmacists. And I went on Facebook and it was just this ranting place of all that was wrong and how it's so terrible and the profession is dead and all this stuff. And I was like, what is this? This isn't pharmacy that I know. So I started just reaching out and connecting, and I had a wake-up call that most pharmacists weren't in love with their jobs. Most pharmacy students were stressed to the point where they felt that their self-care was selfish. And I started to have this epiphany of seeing people with this mindset really get disdain and resentment for pharmacy. And it was sad. And I was like, something's got to be done about this. So I started asking people, what are you struggling with? And they said, I don't have time to work out and I don't get a lunch break, but I work 14-hour shifts, so I can't eat healthy and all those sort of things. And I mean, I worked full time. I was working back in the day, 3 back-to-back 14-hour shifts with a 1-hour one-way commute each way. So I got the time thing. I was living this, but I found a way to overcome it and get innovative. Again, that innovation piece. So I started asking, like, what have you guys tried? And they started saying things like, well, I hired a nutritionist, but they don't get it. I'm like, what do you mean they don't get it? Well, they're not pharmacists. And they're telling me to like mindful eat and chew 30 times before eating, all this stuff. And I was like, well, that's not practical. And I started to ask that, and I started to realize that while the concepts and the data and the information were spot on, translating that into practical application to pharmacist life didn't exist. So I was like, well, I do this stuff, so I want to help. So I'm going to share like what I had the same challenges, so I'm going to share this. So inadvertently, I started to share how I overcame things. And when I heard people saying I can't do this because and I thought, well, here's my solution to that. And I just started a random WordPress blog that was so terrible. It was bad, It was like, if y'all have the Notepad app on your phone, that was better, like legit. All right.
Are they still out there, the blog entries?
The blog entries are, but that site has been updated, let's say.
Gotcha.
To fitpharmacist.com. That is a much more improved representation of my authenticity. Okay.
Gotcha.
But what started happening is I started to hear from other people who, despite the quote norm of everyone having resentment and falling into weight gain and stress and anxiety, there were other people across the country at first that I connected with that loved what they did. And they weren't community pharmacists. These were people who were professors, who were deans, who were in academia, residencies, fellowships, the whole gambit. So I just started connecting with them, and we just became this, like, I don't know, mini accountability group to inspire each other and share our success and stuff. So I had a guy approach me years ago, about 4.5, 5 years ago to this day. And he said, hey man, I'm trying to get into this like entrepreneur space, and you have an awesome platform. I think at the time I had like 3,000 followers on Instagram, which was like, in my view back then, like, this is awesome. Like, wow, like I got a like, and you hit like 100 likes your first time, and it's like, oh my goodness, not like a form of validation, but it was like, this is crazy that 100 people care about my post kind of deal. So I said, well, hey man, he said, you have a platform with this influence, and I'm trying to get my message out there, but I'm not sure what to do. So again, there's that innovation piece and looking at how can I be a voice for this? So I thought, well, I have this blog in quotes. So I have like, I don't know, I think I had like 10 articles at the time. But what if I used my platform to give you a voice to what you're trying to share? And I'm a dork. Like, I love puns, and I'm super corny. So I thought, how about you write it and I'll put it on Friday, and I'll call it Fit Pharmacist Friday. And that's literally where all of those blogs came from. And as of this day, that idea has spread across to highlighting over 400 pharmacists and pharmacy students across the world. I don't know the exact number, but I think it's over 20 or 30 countries at this point that have been featured. And they're in all different walks of life. And what I had them do is share their story and define what fitness means to them. And that's just been a journey, because at first, fitness was just physical. But as I got deeper, I realized that that's just a small part of it, because mental health, mental fitness, spiritual fitness, and how you define it is what's most important. It's not about the words. It's about how the words make you feel, that I shifted that emphasis. So that's what created that blog movement. But stepping back, as right after I graduated pharmacy school, to coming back to social media, my friends who were not pharmacy, we were hanging out at the gym, ironically, and they said like, yo, Instagram. I'm like, what? Insta who? And they're like, yeah, Instagram, you need to make an account. And I'm like, I don't know what this is.
That was me about 18 months ago. I didn't know what it was.
Hey, yo, yeah.
40-year-old here.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. Do you know how much a hipster weighs? An Instagram.
I know. Oh, I get it now. Oh my gosh, right over my head.
I told you I'm a dork. Get ready, guys. Buckle up for real. No, but they said, you just pick a name that represents who you are and what you're about. And I was like, well, I'm in the gym. Clearly, I'm into fitness. And I love pharmacy, super passionate about why I got into it and the opportunity to serve and connect with people. So I'll be the Fit Pharmacist. And that's where this whole thing came from. That's where the Fit Pharmacist was born. Come up with a name from Instagram. And it expanded into becoming this voice for people in the profession. So there's a lot more to that story, but I'm going to skip to the big point here, which is how I became the voice of pharmacist. Last year, I was named the most influential pharmacist in the profession. And
Congratulations on that, by the way.
thank you. And again, I appreciate that. And I think that's a tremendous honor and accolade, but I really think it's a responsibility. And I tried to embody that as, how can I use this to be a voice for those who feel like they don't have one? How can I be a hope dealer to those who feel hopeless and spark a light for those who feel they're in the darkness? And that's literally my mission and why I do everything I do. So I got an opportunity working with my chiropractor, because I'm into all areas of health and I'm a competitive drug-free bodybuilder. So I lift a lot of heavy weights. I pick things up and put them down. So as more of a prevention measure, I go to I use chiropractic all the time, at least once a month, just to stay in alignment, because you're moving, you're putting yourself through pressure and all this. So you want to make sure you're aligned. And as you guys probably picked up on, I'm an energetic guy. So I just, shared my passion and everything else. And they just came to know me as this guy that was really into fitness and nutrition and helping other people. So back in the end of 2018, they said, hey, we do a lot of community outreach. My chiropractor and I are talking. And we had an opportunity to speak at Point Park University to the faculty about how to eat healthy on the go. We can't make it, but we think it's an important message. And we feel like you would be a great person to share this with. Would you be up for it? You get $100. And I was like, wow, getting paid to speak. What an awesome thing to do. Like, people, this is possible. Like, this isn't just part of like a pharmacy presentation in school. I was like, this is awesome. And I get to like connect and share with people and share like what's actually working, and you can practically do this. So I was like, heck yeah. So for 2 months, I thought on, what is a speaker? What do I do? Like, how many slides, all that stuff. Cause I had no experience, no clue.
What year was that?
That was 2018,
Okay.
July 2018.
Okay.
And so I met my now very, very dear friend, Alex Liu, who was a videographer at the time. He was working at Dale Carnegie Institute, and he had this passion, and he was looking to go all in on his brand. He was looking to really become a full-time videographer. So I met him at Chamber of Commerce, actually, because I was looking to grow my business and everything else. Back in the day, I was a nutrition consultant, and I'm still certified by that, but that was my focus back in the day. So I met him, and I thought, I want to learn, because I'll probably need to like fine tune this. And who knows, like maybe this could be like cool content, because I was getting into social media at the time. Like, this could be cool. So I was like, hey man, I know you're looking to do videography, and I got this awesome opportunity to speak. Can I hire you to just film me and just so that I have this to see, how to improve and everything else? And he said, absolutely. So we get there, Point Park University. I'm in a room of over 100 faculty. So I was a little intimidated, being a kid that was told, you can't get into school. I was rejected from college, right? And now I'm teaching faculty on how to eat healthy. So it was just like this weird moment, right? So it's an hour talk, and I start off with, they introduce me and so forth, and I start nervous. But as soon as I stand up, there's a shift that happens, and I am totally in my element. And I start with notes, but as time goes on, I just put them down, and I just start speaking from the heart and giving the information, engaging the audience, making them laugh. And afterwards, the hour ended. I ended exactly at 60,000, which was like crazy. I was like, how did this happen? So afterwards, I had a lot of faculty come up and say, this is great, this and that. And one of them said something that struck me. They said, that was incredible. How long have you been a professional speaker? You must have been doing this for years. And I was like, what?
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah, my mind exploded. I was like, what? So I was like, I appreciate that, but this is my first gig. Like, did I do okay? And I was like, wow, I felt so in my element. I'd never had this experience of being in a state of flow, but that's exactly what I was in. And my friend Alex, the videographer, said, dude, I've filmed a lot of people in my time trying to film entrepreneurs and stuff like that. Because at this time, I really didn't consider myself an entrepreneur. And he said, like, you have a gift. Like, that was honestly one of the best presentation at the time he said he's ever heard. And I was like, holy crap, dude, like, I appreciate you being nice and this and that. He's like, no, I'm not being nice. I'm being real. And you could see it on his face. And I was like, holy crap. I'm like, I need to do something with this. And I started thinking back on all the things through pharmacy school of people saying, you've got a natural speaking ability, you're gifted, you connect with people, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, this is something that I need to develop because this is a gift I have that I am not aware of until now. So I reached out to a friend and I told him, because we actually coincidentally reconnected. We graduated high school together back in 2005. And right around this time, serendipitously, we reconnected through Facebook. And he had just become a professional speaker, which I didn't even know existed. And he said, hey, man, I'm a professional speaker. I run my own business. He was into mental health and helping people with addiction. And he's a therapist, counselor and so forth. So he said, come to this meeting. You need to learn about this. So I went to this National Speakers Association of Pittsburgh meeting. And I was just in my element because everyone there was just so kind and full of energy. And there wasn't this vibe of competition. I'm going to one up you. It was, how can I help you? How can I live this? They call it the spirit of Cabot, of giving without expectation. And it was just truly inspiring. And I thought, these are my people. Just like I thought when I was in pharmacy school, like these are my people. I found a new tribe, speakers, people that literally speak and are a voice for people on solutions and innovation through their experience in speaking. This is what I was meant to do. So I thought about it and I came to realize that this actually is a career you can create. So that was where my pharmacist voice started. And I made the commitment to go all in for 2019. That was my goal, become a professional speaker. And again, I was working full-time in community pharmacy. So you guys know that if you work in that space, that's very rigid, black and white schedule. You can't call off last minute. Like I've got to give a 1.5 year notice for a vacation, like all that stuff.
I hear you.
In order to become professional speaker, you have to give at least 20 paid speaking engagements to over 15 people. So an audience of more than 15 in a 12-month time frame. Try doing that working full time. So I thought, I was called to this, and I literally prayed to God and I said, I feel like I'm called to this. Like, is this what you're having me do? And I remember, like, I'm in my apartment, I'm moving into my house tomorrow, but this is like one of the last days, but one of the most special moments I ever had in my life. I can see it right over there by that chair. I'm pointing to it. On my knees, praying to God about this. And he said, go speak. And I was like, okay, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I have zero connections. I have no clue what I'm doing, but I have this gift. I know it needs developed. I have the space. So I'm going to act on faith to put in the work and develop this. So that's where I started from. I acted on that passion and I developed that. And in 10 months, I became the first ever PharmD to be a professional speaker in the National Speakers Association, which is an organization including individuals like Les Brown and other people that you see. But again, I don't think that that's an award per se. I think it's a responsibility to be that voice for pharmacy. So that's my tribe. As I speak to pharmacy schools, I speak to organizations, associations all over the world. I had the honor to fly over to Ireland in January this year, back when that was socially acceptable, to speak at the country's first ever mental health symposium. All the schools of pharmacy that were there, and it wasn't just pharmacy, it was allied health professionals, psychiatrists, physicians, on how to improve mental health for the provider, for pharmacists, because we hear so much about mental health for patients. But if we're not in a good space mentally, how are we going to give our best to help our patients? How are we going to dispense our full potential? And that's where my kind of mission started with speaking. And that's just been an awesome blessing through this year. And that has led to a myriad of other things with helping people. So it started with self-care. That's where the Fit Pharmacist came from in the brand. But I started to really connect with my audience, all of you guys, pharmacists, students, and finding, your pain point has been, how can you live this life? How can you show up as your best self with all these challenges? How can you eat healthy when you're a pharmacy student and food's expensive? How can you fit in healthy meals when you don't get a lunch break and you're overstressed and overworked in your pharmacist job? How can you fit in fitness when you're married with 5 kids and you work full time? How is that even possible? How are you going to overcome these? So that's where it started. But as I started listening more to the profession, I started to realize that the big pain point right now was competition. Because you go to school, the average debt is between $120,000 and $150,000 from start to finish for pharmacy school. So how are you going to get a job when you've got that financial burden hanging over your head? in a place where having a doctorate is your starting ground. And that blows my mind. Think about this, guys. You go in debt 6 figures to get a doctorate, and that's your starting place. Isn't that insane? So I started to ask, all right, so how can I help people who are struggling to get a job? How can I be that asset? And it depends on your career track, right? Like if you want to go clinical, residency is likely your best bet. If you want to go into industry, fellowship's likely your best bet. So depending on your niche, the assets and degrees and all that, that's kind of niche and career track dependent. But I thought, is there something missing that can really set you up, regardless of what your path is, that can be a universal asset, that can really be your best competitive advantage to give you leverage and show up as that go-to expert to thrive in your passion? And I came to a realization from listening to y'all. And it came from, how, Adam, did you create this brand? I was like, what the heck's a brand? Seriously, that's what I thought. I started getting this message more and more frequently. Adam, how did you create this brand? It's so influential. You're all over the world, like omnipresent. I see your name everywhere. How did you create this brand? And I was like, what the heck are they talking about? And then I started to realize that the solution, the asset, and the answer to that question were one and the same. Having a personal brand. That's the competitive edge. That's the secret sauce that will set you up for success, regardless of what your career endeavor is, because it takes your passion and what you're looking to serve your audience with and packages that in a way that you can be of service and be known for whatever you're going to do in. So that's what led me into personal brand coaching. And that's kind of what I do now, with using my voice to help people find theirs.
I just wanted to jump in there, and I want to admit that I have my BS Pharm. I'm a pharmacist from yesteryear. Back when I graduated in 2001, that's all that was required.
Yes.
And I have no shame in that. That's just what I did.
And you shouldn't.
I had intentions of going to grad school, but I didn't. I got married and started a family, and life happens. What I want to say is that what you're saying is talking about a PharmD being a starting point, or a BS Pharm. What you're recommending is that people get their PharmD, maybe do a residency or a fellowship if that's what they want to do. But are you saying that a brand is something that they would add on top of that, or instead of a residency and a fellowship?
Yeah, that is an excellent question.
You're addressing a younger crowd who's just graduating, and you're also addressing maybe an older crowd. I'm 42, I'll admit it. And there's folks that are maybe not so happy. We're the people on Facebook that were ranting.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you speak to these two different groups? I'd love to hear about this.
That is such an excellent question. And I really, really appreciate that, because you're driving such an important point. So many people are striving to achieve, to get significance, to stand out, because you have to. I mean, there's a lot of competition out there, let's be real. But it's not about you have to get more degrees than a thermometer. It's not about committing your life to school. It's about finding what you're passionate about. So to directly answer your question, you need a personal brand, regardless of if you're a pharmacy student. That's the optimal time to create it, because you can document that journey and connect deeper with people. Whether you're a pharmacist, whether you have a BS Pharm, or maybe you're from maybe you changed professions. I know so many awesome pharmacists that didn't start there. They were teachers or they're engineers, and they changed their path to become the pharmacy. And that's where the secret sauce is. They have an insight and experience that nobody else has. They have so much value to add in addition to their pharmacy training. And this is why a personal brand is important. You have to know all the stuff as a pharmacist. That's a given. You got to do your due diligence and do what you're a pharmacist for. But when you can take your uniqueness, your passion, and your skill set through that experience, pair that with who can I serve, who's your patient population, who's your audience, and you can bring your true self through your unique voice, that's what a personal brand is. So it's not in replacement of or which one's more important. It's more asking, how can you find that voice and create that brand to show up as your best in service for those you're looking to serve? How can you take that and strategically create your best asset, you? So while that's a great question, it really depends on the individual. So, I mean, I work in community. I love it. I didn't need a residency. I didn't need a fellowship. But I think that's a really important question to ask as an individual. So there are people I know that are functioning at such high levels that the position they have would mandatorily require a 2-year residency because it's so influential and important, teaching CE to providers, nurse practitioners, PAs, physicians. But he didn't even do a 1-year residency. He got so committed to his personal brand and developing his skills. He got so good, they couldn't ignore him because he created his own brand. And the person I'm talking about, if you don't know him, is Dr. Mike Corvino of Core Consult RX. Now, I'm not saying don't do a residency and go for clinical and be the underdog and have this story. Do not hear what I'm not saying. You have to identify what your target is. You have to know what your outcome is and see what is the best strategy that would work for me to get me to where I'm looking to go.
How do these young people, I'm sorry to interrupt, but how do these young people know what their brand is so young? I waited
Yes,
years and years and years to develop mine, and I stumbled upon mine by accident. So
same.
how does the young person come up with their personal brand while they're a student and they're only in their early 20s?
Absolutely excellent question. And I have some phenomenal clients from all over the world. And some of my favorite are pharmacy students because they're so creative, because they don't have this construct of what things are supposed to be. They don't have these expectations. They have curiosity. And that's where the innovation starts. So what they can do is really look at their why. Like, what am I looking to do? What am I looking to achieve? And as a pharmacy student, that's exactly what you're asking, right? What am I going to do with my life? What's my job? What's my career? That's a perfect time to start asking about your brand. And when I say personal brand, I don't mean you have to like get these amount of followers and be on social media. Social media, in my opinion, is less than 20% a part of a personal brand. Yes, you have to market, people have to know your message, but it's about who you become and how you can serve and connect with others. That's your personal brand. And identifying what your blind spots are. You're in the best environment in your life to learn. You're with professors, you're with other people that are starting with a blank slate, or they're grasping for answers, trying to figure out what am I going to do next, this and that. You're in the perfect state to answer these questions. And I believe you should be in that state throughout life, but where you're in an environment where everyone else is looking for these too, it's perfect. So being a pharmacy student is exceptional because you have more opportunities to get involved with organizations, to go to regional and state and national associations like SNAPHA, Student National Pharmaceutical Association, which I was super involved in as a student. And those opportunities allow you to create your personal brand. And here is the big takeaway. Your personal brand isn't about how many followers you have. Your personal brand is what others say about you when you're not in the room. And that doesn't mean jack with social media. That means how you show up. How are you on time? Are you showing up in your best self? Are you fully present with those people? Are you in a place where you can really be your best self and have those connections and conversations and care? If you go to a conference, or let's say this, you're a pharmacy student, let's say you don't even go to conferences, you're too overwhelmed. Let's say that you're curious and you resonate with a professor talking about a topic. And you have the courage to stand up afterwards, after class is over, and ask them a question, all right? And you're genuinely curious, you're taking notes. It can either stop there, or you can set up a meeting or set up a Zoom meeting. Or if that's too much, what if you sent a handwritten thank you card to that professor saying, I really appreciated your lecture. Thank you so much for sharing your insight. This really resonated with me. I'm so grateful for your time in diving deeper into this because it really planted a seed of curiosity for me to look into this career path. Imagine the impact that has on that professor. So think about this. You didn't even go to a conference. Let's say you're just on Zoom. You can do this email or handwritten, I highly recommend. But let's say months down the road, there's a faculty meeting, okay? And your name pops up. Now, one of two things can happen. Oh yeah, he's in my class, or she's in my class, or whatever. Or, oh, Kim, yeah, I gave a lecture, and let me tell you about this girl. She came up and asked me a question, and I thought it was just a conversation, but apparently it had impact because I got a handwritten thank you card expressing how this interaction put her on a path to career discovery. And man, I wish more students were like that, really diving deep. And I pour my heart out into this class. And I think it's such an asset that there are people in pharmacy school looking to develop their career at this age and dive deep. And I was just so blown away and touched by her curiosity. Imagine the impact that can have. That's what a personal brand is. That's how you get started. And that's exactly how, if you're a student, you're perfectly positioned to start that process.
When I hear you talking about personal branding, it's different from the personal branding that I know from the voiceover industry.
Yes.
So I just want to make a distinction because as a voiceover professional, I need people to know who I am before they even hit the play button and listen to one of my demos, my podcasts,
Yes.
whatever. And when it comes to my audiobook persona, I'm confident, calm, and trustworthy, like a big sister you actually want to listen to.
I feel that.
Thank you.
You're authentic. See?
Thank you. And then when it comes to my voiceover business, one of my coaches helped me with the brand expert medical narration with clarity and purpose
Yes.
because I am a pharmacist and I use my voice and I'm able to pronounce difficult words and enunciate them and deliver them in a confident and trustworthy manner.
Yes.
So what I've known from the voiceover industry is different from what I hear you talking about. And that's important because I straddle two professions. What I'm trying to say is that there are people that are going to hear this from the voiceover industry, and there are people that are going to hear this from the pharmacy industry.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tease out the differences. When you talk about personal branding, I think it would help me to understand a transformation story.
Yes.
You know, can you describe somebody either my age or a student still in college before they encounter you and after they encounter you? What is it like? What are they like before they encounter you? What are they looking for?
And you guys aren't, I know this is audio and you can't see the video, but as you were talking, my face hurts because I was smiling ear to ear because exactly what you're talking about, straddling two different niches, is part of the reason you bring so much value to your audience because you're in the voiceover industry, but you're a pharmacist. You're a pharmacist, but you're in the voiceover industry. And I call this finding your voice of your passion. So we're pharmacists, we're trained to think a certain way. But if you have a passion outside of pharmacy, you're able to bring insights and innovation in a literally a thought process track that pharmacists are not trained in. In the voiceover industry, you're trained to do the voiceover industry. But because you have that pharmacist brain and that training and that different track of mind, you're able to see things other people can't see. You're able to bring clarity to those blind spots in your industry, which is part of why you're so set up as an asset. And that's one of the things I teach my clients is how you can use your passion to really set yourself up to be the best version of you and create those solutions and innovation in your space. And that's exactly what your secret sauce is it's how you can take those, quote, weird things that make you a black sheep or outcast or however you want to label it. Those things that you discounting are the exact things you should be counting on because that's what gives you that space and authority to be the voice. So to answer your question, I have a really special story, and I did a podcast on this that's going to be released so right now this is December 10th when we're recording this, so probably the end of the month. But a very dear friend of mine, he is actually older than you. He's in his late 50s, very well-seasoned pharmacist, over 30 years experience in every single industry, community, residency, academia, you name it, he's done it. He is in pharma and he has tremendous skills in the digital space. So whenever I had this aha moment that people need help in how to create a personal brand, all through COVID, like all through this year of 2020, the most out of sight year of all time, as I joke. But lots of serious things go with that. There was a moment of clarity that, I need to do something about this with the experience I have to help people create their brand. So I created this online course, this community, this mastermind called Script Your Brand. So I've never made an online course before, but I got resourceful with some of my mentors, and this individual was one of them because he has tremendous experience with creating online courses. So I told him my idea and he said, absolutely. You make the content, all the stuff, send me the videos, I'll get it set up. So with that, he listened to all the content. He went through everything. And here's what happened. And I haven't told this story to anyone yet, so you get the insider scoop. There you go. Ooh, ooh. Extra value for y'all. So this guy has been a medical science liaison in pharma for a long time. And he's been trying to get this promotion for a long time. And he has been turned down 4 times to get this promotion because he was assessing it and addressing it like, quote, you were supposed to, doing what everyone else has done. And here's the cool story. Right after he did this course and it launched about a month after, he messaged me and said, like, hey man, just want to let you know, like, I've actually learned a lot from your course. Like, I'm just doing the editing. Like, this is really helpful. And I said, like, how can I help you more? Like, how can I give back? He's like, well, I don't know if I've told you this. And he told me the story that I just shared with you guys, going for this promotion and everything else. So we had an interview and he was doing the same thing he always done. He put hours into creating this presentation, hours, slides on slides, days on days. And he said, you know what, dude, I've been having a hard time sleeping because I feel like I'm not being my real self. Like, I have so much value and experience from all these other areas that this position isn't focused on, but I feel like it brings so much insight into the position that I'm going for. So I'm going to do something bold. It was Sunday when he woke up and he had everything done. He had already been practicing this presentation for days. His interview was on Wednesday. He trashed all his work. He literally deleted it. And he said, I'm going to put what you taught me into practice. I'm going to become my brand. This is a true freaking story. I'm not making this up. I'll give you a podcast.
No, I'm smiling because this is kind of what I did with my husband. So you go right on ahead. I'm waiting for the happy ending. I'm a happy ending kind of girl. Let's go.
He took a deep breath and he said, I'm going all in on this because I tried this over before and I'm doing exactly what I've done. And I'm literally going to live my brand. So with faith and action, and, it requires work. It's not just like throw your hands up and, take it. It's not Jesus take the wheel and you just sit back. Jesus take the wheel, but you got to put your foot on the gas, y'all. Y'all got to put in the work. Let's be real about this, okay? So, he put in the work. He got creative. He reassessed and got clear. Wednesday comes. Room of people so much more qualified than him. And he's going to be an MSL for a huge territory in the United States. He's been turned down by this for years, 4 times, actually. Gives a presentation, and they tell him, he feels the energy in the room shifting. He sees it. And, they're all standard protocol for every applicant, okay? He's competing against some really other, qualified people. So it's not just him. There's other people going for this job, right? And they give the same thing for everyone. You'll hear from us within a week's time, the whole corporate thing. The next morning, gets a phone call from his superior who says, I know I'm supposed to wait, but I have never heard a presentation like that in my 30-year career. And there were people in that room who have more experience than you could create in your life. And they are so qualified. They're on literally the board of directors for global initiatives. They are the experts and they learn stuff. They were so impacted by the value you brought in a way that has never been displayed before. I want you to take this position because you were made for this. Holy crap!
That's awesome.
This stuff works. This is not theory. And like I say, every time I give a keynote or a speaking workshop, I will never talk about something I don't practice myself. Congruency is essential. And here's the thing, guys. I'm not into making you feel good. I'm not a motivational speaker. If you want to get pumped up, go to the gym. I'm here to help you get your outcomes. That's what I'm about. And it just blew my mind that this guy that wasn't even like quote in the course, but he was helping me create the course, put this into practice. And he's literally living his dream life, having over a 30-year career in pharmacy, doing something he's never done because he's living his brand. He scripted his brand by becoming his true self. And that's what I help people freaking accomplish. Stopping the drive for being certain about life and creating significance and being defined by your achievements instead of who you really are, and realizing that everything you have is all that you need, and taking your experiences and your skills, working that, and seeing how can I show up differently to be of service to my audience and dispense solutions that either aren't working currently or have never been proposed before, so I can help them create their outcomes. So while a personal brand is you, it's not about you. It's about how you can help your audience reach the outcomes faster, cheaper, or in a more fun way. That's what juices me, and that's exactly what I help people do. And it is one of the, like, I feel so fired up right now, and y'all can probably hear it from my voice, but that juices me. When I see people who realize their value is not defined by a degree or a career or what other people think or all this other crap that we all get privy to, but realizing that they are enough, that they do have the skills and experience to be that voice, to literally be the voice of what they're passionate about and lead others. That's what juices me. And my name, my purpose, I am Adam Martin. I see, hear, feel, and know that my purpose in life is to be passionately joyful, to help people, to show up in every aspect in their life, to dispense joy and inspire light among the darkness, and to show up in love for both myself and others. That's my mission statement. And that's what I strive to help every single person with, whether they're a pre-pharmacy student, I have a client like that, whether they're a pharmacy student, and I've got people in P1, 2, 3, 4 years, whether they're a pharmacist that just graduated and feels so overwhelmed, whether they're a pharmacist that hates their career and needs to do something else, whether they've lost their lust for pharmacy and they want to reconnect with it, or they've been deep in their career for 30 years and they still haven't created their dream job. It's never too late. You're never beyond dispensing your full potential unless you don't act on it. And that's the key, folks. Every single limiting belief, and all of us have them, by the way, including myself, all of us have them. And all of that stems to one thing: fear. And as a pharmacist, I can tell you that the antidote to fear is action. This might have inspired you. This might have made you get the warm fuzzies and all that, but it's not going to mean jack unless you apply it. So that's my challenge to you guys. My hope is that there's some seeds planted, not just from me, but from the mission that Kim is doing. She's working a job. She's being the woman, the wife, the mother, going through so much and showing up as her best self, but still finding time to bring people together and allow them to hear their own voice through what she's doing. And hopefully that action she continues to do is inspiring you to at least take the moment to ask, how can you do this too? Because yes, you can. Yes, you do have what you need. Yes, you are enough. All that matters is, with this realization, what you're going to do with it.
Amen. Preach.
Oh, you got me fired up here. Yeah, but no, but I really mean that.
Whenever I have an interview, I try to let my guests talk about how they use their voice, and I love what you're doing. I didn't know much about you until you and I started having conversations, and what you're recommending people do is something I did with my own husband. Having him think about, what is it that you want to do? What do you love? What can you get paid for? What does the world need?
Yes.
And I feel like that's a lot what you're doing too. You're just helping people reveal it. And there's more to you, Dr. Adam Martin, than even you're telling the listeners right now. You know things about personality types, And I am just really impressed with how you just know people. You understand people and you don't judge them. You help them use what's good
Yeah.
for their brand. And I just wanted to commend you on being able to do that. Not
Wow.
everybody studies that, and you have. So
I,
there's more
I
to Dr. Adam Martin than you hear on the podcast today.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. And just to mimic what you said, all of us, regardless of our career niche in pharmacy, our outcome is very similar. We're here to help the lives of others. And you can't do that unless you have trust. And thankfully, as pharmacists, we're positioned as one of the most trusted professions in the world. Where does trust come from? It comes from relationships. And that relationship is founded on trust, but it comes from understanding. So if you look at one of the best books of all time, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, it's not about knowing you, it's about understanding others. So if you seek to understand before trying to be understood, your whole life will change. And that has been one of my passions, and exactly what you say. I like I said in my mission statement, I intentionally show up with passionate joy to inspire light among the darkness and show up in love for myself and others. You can't do that if you're judging or comparing or putting people down. There's a way to lift yourself up, and it's either by pulling others down or by taking ownership and digging into yourself. And all of us have different personality types. We have different stories. We have tremendous trauma that either we're in the process of healing or it's so painful, we dig it down so deep we don't even want to see it again. But my challenge is that you take your skills that you're trained for, you take what you're passionate about with your unique twist, and you say, who do I resonate with? Who do I want to serve? Whose lives do I want to improve? And you take that passion, that you-ness, you take that skill and training, you merge those, and you come at it with service to improve the lives of those that you're looking to help. That's what a personal brand's all about. And I help people through that process. And that's exactly what I do. And I really appreciate your words. And I'm really like warmed by that, because that's my goal, is to meet people where they are and allow them to see that they are enough. They can do it all. They just have to realize that they don't have to be a human doing. They need to be more of a human being. What a concept.
I think one thing that we haven't talked about, we haven't explicitly just brought it up, is the whole abundance mindset thing. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's something that you talk about in your courses or with your individual clients, but sometimes people will say, well, that title's already taken. I can't be the
Yeah.
pharmacist voice. I can't be the fit pharmacist. What do you say to people that say, oh, I would love to do that, but it's already taken? What do you do with that?
I love this question. So this is funny because this is actually a real story. So I have a client in the UK. She's a fellow podcaster, and you would love her. I need to connect you guys, by the way, because her voice was made for podcasting. I promise you'll say that at least twice during your interview, like if y'all resonate or whatever. But yeah, anyway, she reached out and we were talking, and I was just real open and vulnerable about everything. And she said, I was hesitant to connect with you because I was worried that you'd feel I'd be your competition. And I said, what do you mean? She's like, well, I kind of want to do what you do. I was like, well, that's awesome, but I challenge you not to be like me. I challenge you to be better than me, because I have seriously, and I tell that all the time. Y'all can check my social media, but I really mean that. Like, we all have different stories and paths. And so there's 2 answers to this question. The first is, we all have different stories, upbringings, and experiences. And let's look at fitness. Let's look outside of pharmacy, just fitness overall. How many fitness programs are there? How many personal trainers? Yet there's more created every single day, because they have a different story and experience, which allows them to connect with their tribe and allows them to be that voice for that group of people that was based on their experience. So that's very unique and different. Everyone might have the quote, same idea, but you've got a different flavor. You've got different stories that need to be told, and that can't happen without your voice. So while it might seem it's the same, it's not. You have a different perspective, and that's where the riches come from. There's riches in the niches, and the niche is your story. So that's the thing is don't get caught in this fear of it's already been done, or, they're 3 years ahead of me and I just got this idea. I'm so far behind. I hear that all the time too. And I work with people on how to overcome that successfully. But the other thing, so that's the first thing. The other thing, and this is more of like a competitive type thing that, so if y'all know, there's the three musketeers of pharmacy, I call us. There's myself, there's Rich Waith of RX Radio, and there's Mike Corvino of Core Consult RX. We all have our own brands, our own podcasts, and all this. And we're driven, goal-oriented people, right? And this concept came up in conversation years ago when we were in Miami down at Rich's house. And it came up saying, if you want to strive and be better than me, that's awesome. Because guess what? When you dive deep and put the time in and stay consistent, it's going to force me to level up. Because if you're growing and I'm not, you're going to blow by me. So that actually is a gift of an accountability partner. So regardless of how you look at it, it's a win-win-win. Your audience is going to win because both of you are growing. You're going to win and help me win. I'm going to inspire you. You're going to get leveled up. How can you lose? It's a brilliant process. And that's the thing people need to remember. It's a process. It's not a destination. And it's the progress you make. It's not the goal you achieve. It's who you become in pursuit of that dream that makes all the difference. And that is such a gift. Guys, so real talk, I just came off of 6 days. So I'm like on like peak state right now. If y'all ever heard of Tony Robbins, I just ended his Date with Destiny seminar, literally at 2:30 this morning. And the biggest thing is, the biggest takeaway is shifting my question. And this is my new question. I'm going to share it with y'all. How can I trade my expectation for a state of appreciation? Imagine that. So you go into a meeting and you expect someone to act this way, or you try to do something for someone and you expect this reciprocation. What if you crumpled that up and threw that in the trash, and you instead asked, how can I find appreciation in this moment? Like right now, you're such an amazing woman, Kim. Seriously, you're a devoted wife. You are a mother of the year for real. Like y'all don't even know the commitment this woman has, like real talk. You help your clients, you help patients, you help people in pharmacy, regardless of their niche, to find their voice and use your connections to help them grow their voice. How freaking blessed am I to have this moment? What are we, like an hour and a half because I'm such a gum flapper? But I have this time with you. How much gratitude I have right now that you give me your time and support and all of that. Absolutely incredible. I'm so grateful that I have someone like you in my life. And before this, guys, we had a 2-hour convo like a week or two ago, just getting to know each other. Because you see stuff on social media, but you don't know if it's real. And then you talk to me, you're like, wow, you are as weird as you are in person, social media.
I didn't call you weird. You call yourself weird and I just smile and nod.
That's an acknowledgement. But guys, just imagine. So let's say that's how I am. That's literally what's going down. But I see so many people who are trying to make their name in pharmacy or whatever career. And they say, oh, well, I have the expectation I'm going to be on this podcast and we're going to be done in 30 minutes. Because you said this is going to be a 30-minute podcast. I'm going to be done in 30 minutes and I'm going to have this many impressions and get this many followers. And she's going to do this and I'm going to get this and blah, 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 blah. Guess what? Life doesn't happen that way. Guess what? You can't control others' outcomes. You can't control anything except for how you respond to what goes on in your life. And imagine the level of stress and anger and despair you would live in if you lived your life going into every interaction and day and moment and week and month and year and career having expectations of what other people will do or what's going to come out of what you do. If I give this, I will get that. Imagine the crappy state of life that is. And here's the mind-blowing thing. So many of us have been living that. Let's be real with ourselves for a moment. We might not do that all the time, but how frequently do we live our day that way? It might not be all the time, but the moments, and the moments matter. So when you shift your question of not what can I get out of this? What's my expectation? What's this person going to do? If I do this, what am I going to get? Life is not transactional. It's about being your authentic self and giving your best and finding how your audience has an unmet need that your unique story, your weirdness, if you're, a lanky kid like me or whatever it is, how can you take your special sauce and make that service? That is what it's all about. And when you show up that way and change your question away from not what's my expectation, but how can I change my expectation into a state of appreciation, your whole life will change. And that's exactly what I challenge you to really take an honest conversation with. And it's something that's a process. So if you do this, I caution you, you're going to have some things you might not like. You're going to have some things that you might not want to see. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be that way. You can change. You can change that. It's a process. So again, speaking to my pharmacy side of being type A, super ducks in a row, perfectionists, ultra achievers, all those people that, not people I hear about, not me, not me. I've never done that. Not as a pharmacist, never. But from what I hear other people do, right? We all have done that. But my challenge to you guys is realize, don't be too hard on yourself. Realize that this awareness piece is the first step. And that's all I want you to get is start changing the questions you have in your life. Because when you change the questions, you start finding different answers. And seek and you shall find. So when you have these questions, you're going to find answers that will put you in a different emotional state. And the actions that we take are derived from our emotional state. And the actions we take ultimately create our destiny. So if you can reverse engineer that, you say, my destiny has been written in stone. I have no say. Your destiny is made up of actions. Your actions are made up of your emotions. Your emotions are made up of the answers you get from the questions you ask. So if you shift that, imagine the destiny that you can script. And that's what I help people do. Script your brand.
Nice. And one thing that you do that I don't know if people realize, and you did it for me just now, you're not my guide in my branding process. I think I can just come out and say, you didn't help me with my brand.
Yeah.
But what you did was you affirmed my transformation. You know that I went from part-time pharmacist or stay-at-home mom basically to now being the pharmacist voice. And you said, Kim, you did it and you did it right because you brought in who you are and you made this brand and it is still who you are. You just now have a brand. When you affirm a transformation, that's really powerful because somebody who I feel like is in a really good headspace like you are, saying something like that to me, I didn't need that affirmation, but because you gave it to me, I mean, it's very powerful and meaningful to me. And thank you.
You are most welcome. And I am so freaking proud of you. And we talked about this before the podcast a couple weeks ago. We worded it differently. But I talked about like living your brand and you called it working your brand. And they're one and the same. Like, are you doing what you say? It's really that simple. So that's one of the things I talk about is leadership. I'm going to be the keynote speaker for the 2021 Phi Lambda Sigma annual conference. And you're the inside scoop on that too. I haven't announced that yet. But that's really what it is. You can go through leadership process and all this stuff in theory. But at the end of the day, leadership is very simple. Are you doing what you say you will? Because when you do that, people will trust you. And guess what? Relationships are built on trust. And when you have relationships, you can drive outcomes and impacts and allow people to do what they want to achieve. And that's really that simple. But hear me, simple does not mean easy. And you know that. You went through a freaking inspirational transformation. And I felt your energy as even though I was talking. You all don't see the video, but I can feel that. You could probably feel it from the audio waves. But I felt that. And I know that. And I just have so much respect for your journey and who you've become and who you continue to grow into be. And through that process, by paying that price up front, you are doing such a service for not only the pharmacy profession, but for the voiceover industry. And if y'all are listening to this and you're like, wow, pharmacists are really, like, some pharmacists can be this way. Interesting. So hopefully I reframed your, reframed what you thought pharmacists were, whatever that might be. But I just challenge you to, like, look at Kim. I mean, she's just done such phenomenal work for herself, and she continues to for others. And it just shows that you can have so much impact on different niches when you just look at, what is my voice? How can this be used? And it's not about, getting accolades or followers or anything like that. That will naturally come with time. And people don't want to hear that. They want, like, I want 20,000 followers 10 minutes ago. How do I get it? That's not what it's about. All right.
And brands grow over time too. My brand is still growing. I still feel like I'm at the beginning in a lot of ways. But I love what you said about asking the right questions, because a lot of people play the victim card, and they don't recognize they're in unhealthy situations, and they don't dream anymore about, what do I want my life to look like, and how can I seek to understand what it can be like? How can I seek to understand about what's good about what I'm actually in, even though I'm suffering? What is this disadvantage teaching me? Some people just don't take the time to process that, or ask those questions, or look at it from that way. I came from a position of being a special needs mom. I love my children, but I didn't want to be a special needs mom. Nobody goes into this saying, oh, yes, please, I'd like to give up $2 million over 18 years in wages so that I can raise this child that I'm going to have to become the guardian of when he turns 18. And until death parts us, I will be his person. Nobody wants to stand up and volunteer for that. But I have embraced it and learned from it. And instead of me trying to be his guide, I let him be my guide. I let my son be my guide. And when you come at things from that position, and you seek to understand him and what he needs, and how you can fit like a puzzle piece around him, you learn things, and it makes you strong. And some people look at it as a disadvantage, but I am doing something with my life now that nobody would have predicted. And a lot of people come to me via social media and say, how did you do that? And I know I'm doing something right because they want to know.
What you just said was your heart speaking. What you just said was your brand. And I could feel the love coming through the mic or the audio waves or whatever. And I just want to acknowledge you for that, because that takes courage, because you know who you are and you're owning all of it. And the love that came from those words is just, it fills my heart. Like, it really does. I'm no BS. Like, I'm just so proud to know you. And I really, like, this is not hyperbole. Like, I really feel grateful that we got brought together. Again, Jesus at the center, because our friend connected us who was founded on Jesus. So it's all him at work. I'm just a vessel for the message. But seriously, you should really listen to this podcast again. And I really, this is my challenge to you. And if y'all are listening, I want you to rewind it to whatever timestamp that was, like an hour 15 in. Holy crap, I talk a lot. An hour 15 in. It's like I do this for a living. An hour 15 in. And I really want you to listen to that, because I could feel a shift in what you said. The authenticity is, and you're authentic, so don't hear what I'm not saying, but the depth of what you said was so pure. It really moved me. And I just really appreciate that, because that was a special moment, for real.
Thank you. That stuff is not easy for me to talk about. A lot of us podcasters go in our recording space and we're talking to nobody. But for me to talk to you about it, it actually made it a little easier. So, yeah, thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
And now everybody else gets to hear it.
For real. And guys, here's a perfect example. So you heard what I said. Oh, that sounds good. This is theory and practice, right? It's not theory, it's practice. I came from a place of understanding. And she knows, like, another gift that Kim has, y'all, is she can see right through the crap. And I told you that when I first met you. I'm like, one of your gifts, you can see through people's BS. And you're like, yeah. And I do. So I'm like, I'm going to show up. This is how I am with everybody. But when I sought to understand her, instead of coming and saying like, oh, here's who I am, my identity, my accomplishments, blah, blah, blah. No. It's, I want to know about you. Because I showed up to understand, she felt safe to share. And because she shared, She now, you don't realize this, but I'll tell you right now, you have given voice to people who feel voiceless. Ironically, on the Pharmacist Voice podcast, so many people have that similar story of feeling like their career is directed, quote, outside of their control, and there's resentment there. But instead, you came from a place, this is really meta, you came from a place of understanding your son. And by looking at that and asking not, why is this happening to me, but how is this happening for me? The level of love that you emanate across these radio waves, literally across the world, is so real talk. It is so inspiring. And I want you guys to hear this, because that never would have happened if there wasn't love in the first place. And love comes from understanding, not judgment. Put that judgment crap aside, right? That's Jesus's job. Yours is to really understand people and say, how can I show up and connect with this individual? What can I learn from this person? Can I give anything? Can I help in any way? And here's the real magic, guys. You go into life with intention to help other people. And when you do that, you end up getting so much. This podcast has been such a gift. Seriously, like I feel so fired up, and I'm really excited for it because I have to pack like 200 boxes to move tomorrow. So again, there's another level of appreciation. But seriously, this is special. I'm going to be listening to this for many years to come. And it's just really inspiring to hear your brand. Like, it's authentic through and through, but you just uncovered a level that is so special. So I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to resonate with this podcast and with you. So I caution you in a celebratory way. Get ready for a lot of messages.
Well, thank you, Adam. One thing before we wrap this up, I made a comment to you when we were chatting on LinkedIn. I just want to bring this out to the listeners because maybe they'll feel the same way. When you meet somebody who really gets it, like Adam, and is good at the whole branding process, especially for pharmacists, because again, I come from a voiceover background too, and my brand really resonates with the voiceover industry. Adam is don't laugh when I say this, but Adam's kind of like a shepherd. And there's a lot of people, you know what I'm going to say, because I've said this before.
Oh
Adam's
my.
kind of like a shepherd. I mean, he takes people who want a brand that don't have one and maybe are kind of like that gentleman you talked about who really wants something and can't get it. But then you say something that really connects with them when they're ready to hear it. And there's this piece of Christian artwork, and I hope this isn't blasphemous for me to say, but Jesus is helping this sheep that has fallen over the side of a cliff. And the sheep didn't die, okay? The sheep's not dead at the bottom. He's just over like a little 6-foot cliff and he can't jump back up. And that sheep just keeps trying to jump up and trying to jump up. You're imagining this because it's a still image, right? And this sheep is just dead tired. And when anybody is dead tired and just ready to hear something that resonates, they allow themselves to be helped. And I feel like that is something that you do, Adam. Not everybody
Wow.
has to be at that point where they're beating their head against, a rock trying to jump back up a cliff. But there's a lot of pharmacists right now who are looking to do something else. And this is a common theme in my podcast. There's a lot of people who see my guests as somebody who's doing something else and they want to do it too. But what you do is you help people find what's already within themselves and you help them back off that cliff and you give them a smack on the bottom and say, get back out there. And they find their brand and they go
Oh,
find that new thing to do. And they're happy and they're energized and the people receiving them as the employer or the clients of this new entrepreneur, they are ready because they know who they're dealing with. Somebody who's working their brand, as I like to say, is going to be well received because they're doing the work.
yes. Well, that is just a speechless response comment, and really a compliment. So I really appreciate that immensely. I love that you said I help people to see what they already have, because a lot of people feel like they're broken or they're not enough or they need something. There's something missing. I have a missing piece. There's something out there I have to find. Guys, I know that you've had that thought before. I did too. But here's the special sauce. Everything you need is all you have. And that's my gift. That's my gift. And I help people with branding because that's how they can get the outcome the outcome that is of most interest to my audience, being pharmacists and students. The outcome is to get the job or get the promotion or whatever that might be, right? But the source of that is finding that power within. So what I like to say is, you might be a young cub, or you see yourself as a young cub or a wounded fawn or something like that. But what I do is I show you that you're a freaking lioness. You have unlimited greatness within you. And my process is helping you to find that, not as like I'm going to be fine, good things are going to happen. No. These are not affirmations. These are incantations from action. That's what I help you find. I don't give you anything. I don't fix nothing. What I do is show you what you have already done and give you a strategy to fuel that fire. And here's the other thing. People are like, wow, you ignited something in me. Guys, y'all have a fire in you already. All I do is throw gasoline on it so it turns into napalm. That's what I do. And it's fun. It's fun.
Well, Adam, this has been a lot of fun. I think we should wrap it up, though.
Yeah.
As we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Just that I want everyone to know listening that if this resonates with you, if you might have gotten angry, honestly, from hearing this. Seriously, there's some of you listening that are probably really angry. What is he talking about? You have to have degrees, blah, 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 blah. It's okay. It's okay. You need certain accomplishments and degrees and connections for your career. It's okay. But make sure that you're not striving for these to define your own self-worth. Make sure you're not getting these accomplishments to tie your identity into them. Make sure you're not trying to prove yourself. Make sure that you're doing these things to grow your outcome instead of your inner. Make sure that you recognize that all you have is all you need. And the questions you ask determine the quality of life you live. And I challenge you, what if you changed your expectations to living in a state of appreciation in this very moment?
Excellent parting comments.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the Pharmacist Voice podcast, Adam. Have a great weekend.
An honor. Thank you, Kim. God bless.
Thank you for joining me for episode 75 of the Pharmacist Voice podcast. Visit thepharmacistvoice.com to subscribe and read the show notes. To learn more about Dr. Adam Martin, you can also visit his website, thefitpharmacist.com.